Well, thank you everybody for joining us on this webinar. For those of you who I don't know, my name's Jenny Hume and I'm Reloop's Director of Global Networks and Development. I definitely see plenty of familiar faces on here, but as I say, if you don't know, Reloop is a small international team who are working on the transition to a global circular economy. We have a vision of the world where our natural resources remain resources, and we're an expert team based across Europe, North America, and Australia, and we're particularly interested in circular economy for packaging. We work on this by working at the centre of policy making with governments, industry stakeholders, and NGOs. And we do this primarily through gathering data in various forms and sharing our knowledge with relevant parties, which is what we're here to do this afternoon. So I want to share with you today the story of our recent collaboration with the Marine Conservation Society. Together with them, we wanted to learn more and spread the word about two great circular systems that are happening in Denmark. So first, we visited Aarhus to see their citywide deposit return system for reusable cups. And that project has been running for almost 2 years. And after seeing the reusable cup system in Aarhus, we took a train to Copenhagen, where we had the pleasure of learning more about how Dank's return system operates, one of the best deposit return systems for bottles and cans in the world. We were lucky enough to be joined by Nada Faroud, who's the Daily Mirror's environmental correspondent, and we also took our own videographer with us, and he was tasked with gathering footage so that we could share the story more widely about these two great initiatives. We'll share the film with you shortly, and I'm pleased to say that we're also lucky enough to be joined by two of the Danish experts who you'll meet in the film, and they'll be available to answer your questions afterwards. But first, I want to backtrack a bit and introduce my friend, Catherine Gemmell Simpson from the Marine Conservation Society. Catherine's going to set the scene for why we need to urgently implement circular systems across the UK and the rest of the world. So, Catherine, I will hand over to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jenny, and hello everyone. Thank you so much for probably giving up lots of lunch breaks and coffee breaks to come along to listen. And Jenny's exactly right. I work for the Marine Conservation Society, have done for about 10 years now. I'm based up in the northeast of Scotland, and I actually started working on trying to get a deposit return system here in Scotland week one on the job 10 years to see where we're at here in the UK now. But it is sometimes quite useful just to remind ourselves all of that work, all of the brilliant kind of policy and industry collaboration, why we're doing it in the first place. So you'll not be surprised to hear, with us being a marine conservation charity, that we're here because we want our oceans and our beaches to be clean. So why deposit return schemes? That image is from one of our beach cleans, and this is what we've been finding: beaches and cans on beaches across the UK. What can we do to stop that from happening? So if we go on to the next slide, Jenny, I wanted to introduce our citizen science project, which is what all of our kind of policy work is based on in our marine litter space. So I love this concept of citizen science, that anybody, you don't need to be an expert, a data scientist, wear a lab coat, anyone can help gather important evidence and information to be able to get something like a deposit return system in place. So Beachwatch has been running for nearly 4 decades now, gathering all this important information, and all run by our volunteers. So if we go on to the next slide, you'll see the kind of methodology behind it. It's a 100-meter transect that we get our volunteers to almost adopt a stretch of beach, and as well as kind of cleaning that beach, we get them to fill in one of these surveys. Now, this is based on an international standard, so I think international learnings and collaboration are definitely a theme of this webinar today. And it is so important because we know that the ocean doesn't have any walls, doesn't know any boundaries. Litter that's coming off the coast of the UK could be impacting our friends over in Denmark. So we need to be working together and putting these policies in place. So we go on to the next slide, Jenny. This will just kind of give you an idea of what our survey form looks like. It's a bit intense, I know, but it is so vital. And obviously for deposit return, bottles and cans across the kind of plastic, metal, glass, all material types are on there. But it also gathers information on many other litter types that are washing up on our beaches. So we're also really keen to be looking at circular solutions beyond bottles and cans. And it'll be interesting in the discussion later what else might come up there. And on the next slide, we have also moved into the digital age, and there's an app now for everybody to use. So if you are based in the UK and if you live near the beach and you haven't done it yet, please do sign up to be a Beach Watch volunteer, and it'd be great to have you involved in the project. And the next slide, again, is going back to that kind of international theme. We use the data so much here in Scotland, across the UK, with all of the different government administrations. We also feed that data into the International Coastal Cleanup, which is kind of governed by the Ocean Conservancy over in the US. And this just goes to show that it is so important for that data to not just have that local impact, but going all the way up to that global impact. There is a picture of me and my manager Callum down at Crammond Beach in Edinburgh in this international report. And I think showing the impact of the data collection, the impact of the policies is so important for bringing our volunteers, the public, and everybody along with us. So I then just wanted to show you a little bit of our data. So sorry, Jenny, there's a little bit of clicking going on here. Every year, we then launch our annual Beach Watch report called our State of Beaches report. And what we've been seeing over the years is the same story, whether it is in each of the kind of home nations in the UK or the UK as a total. Bottles and cans are an issue on our beaches. So last year, we were seeing, 96, 98, 100% of beaches in different places having littered drinks cans and bottles on them. And this has been a story that's been there since I started a decade ago, since really we started recording data back in the 90s as well. So we knew then we had the evidence that we needed to be calling for change. So if we go on to the next slide, you'll then see kind of exactly how this data slots in with our friends at Reloop, where they were showing then, looking at beach litter data collected across the kind of the globe, everywhere that had a deposit return system had less bottles and cans on beaches. So we know the story, we know why we need to do it. We need to be protecting our marine ecosystems, the incredible wildlife that calls it home. And this is such a simple, easy solution, and something that I think so many of our volunteers really connect with, because so many of them remember when we did have it here in the UK in different places, and we're just bringing it back, and we're seeing all of our friends across the world in so many different countries showing the positive impact it's having. So I'm really excited for it to be having that impact here in the UK very soon. And then this kind of next slide, again, sorry, Jenny, you're going to do a little bit of clicking, was just to kind of highlight a little bit of the campaign journey over the years to kind of recognise the importance of international collaboration and also working kind of across society. So there were some clips there of us going to Norway a couple of years ago, and I'm really excited to then share those videos of our visits to Denmark and to Latvia. We've been working with everyone from school children up to government ministers in various parliaments as well. And at the base of it is always having that Beach Watch data and having that evidence to really push for the cause and making sure that we actually get deposit return systems in place here in the UK. So a few of you might have seen a few familiar faces in there over the years, because I can see a few on the call as well. And it's also just to say we've obviously been on a very long policy journey here in the United Kingdom. We've been calling for this for a very long time. So now is really about getting that positive message across that yes, we're here now. We're going to be starting it in October 2027. Now let's make it the best it can be so we can end up with beautiful clean beaches, and really keen then to hear these learnings from other countries to make sure that we can have this in the future too. So thanks so much, Jenny. Back over to you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Always amazing and slightly depressing to see the Marine Conservation Society data, and also to see you and me about 10 years ago in all of our different guises. Okay, so I'm excited now to share with you the film from our trip to Denmark. I'm going to play it for you through the presentation, but if there's a glitch, Barry is going to put the link to the YouTube video in there. So if it stops working for you through the presentation, then just watch it on YouTube and join us again in 10 minutes where we'll reconvene to ask questions. So here we go. I'm going to press play now.
Before 2000, we did not have any cans or single-use plastic bottles at the Danish market. But then in 2000, Dansk Retursystem was established to ensure the recycling of single-use beverage packagings, namely for beer, soda, mineral water, juice, and so on. Each day, we collect almost 5.2 million bottles and cans. Yearly, we collect, sort, and recycle 2.1 billion packagings. 93% of all the packagings are actually returned by the Danish consumers. And when we collect, sort, and send it for recycling, we achieve 99.7% all bottles and cans recycled into exactly new bottles and cans. It's a massive amount, and we are really striving to have these high figures to support the climate and environment. Whenever Dansk Retursystem was established, it was supported by the breweries, the retailers, and the politicians. So I think it's a typical way of solving things in Denmark. We sit together around a table and find a solution that suits everybody. As a company, we strive to do well in terms of environment and climate. We also need to work efficient, so we keep the cost low for the producers. And then, not least, we need to have satisfied stakeholders. We rely on the consumers to bring back all the packagings. We rely on shops and stores taking all the packagings back from the consumers, and rely on collaboration with the best-in-class recyclers, ensuring this closed loop, bottle to bottle and can to can. It's glass, plastic, and metal that is included in the system. And glass in the system is also a good idea, is seen from an environmental perspective. So I'm very proud of the 99.7% of all the collected glass bottles, plastic bottles, and aluminum cans ending up in exactly new bottles and cans again. You can call it recycling over and over again. And also, when you're saving resources, then you're also saving a lot of CO2. 234,000 tons of CO2 were saved last year through the deposit system, thanks to the consumers, the retailers, the recyclers, and the beverage packaging producer that use the recycled materials again and again.
My name is Simon. I'm the project manager for the reusable project here in the city of Aarhus in Denmark, where we have been working with reuse at scale for the last couple of years. 15 years ago, we had a party at this festival in the city where a lot of single-use cups were being thrown into our rivers and then discarded out into the Bay of Aarhus. So this municipality next to us called us and told us to go get our cups. This was kind of the starting point of thinking about something different with the Take-Away-to-Go products. And then I came into the picture with an idea about a reusable system. So when I started in this job, the first thing I did was doing a waste audit to see what kind of waste composition is in the public waste in our city. And the results were quite surprising, because what we saw was almost 50%, actually 49% to be exact, of the waste generated in the city is actually Take-Away-to-Go packaging. That was a big moment, because we saw the scale of the problem. We had the conversations with our local businesses that showed that there was backing, there was engagement to do something else. And we also asked the citizens their feelings towards waste. And one thing that was quite visible was that they were very tired of Take-Away-to-Go packaging. So now you have three very important things here. You have scale, you show the problem. You have local backing and business backing, and you have citizens actually supporting this. So in that sense, it was an easy choice to start thinking about doing something different. This was where the idea of a reusable system arose. The system is quite simple for the end consumer. You purchase your coffee or drink or your salads or what you would purchase normally in a single use. You pay an extra deposit, in this case around 80 euro cents. When you're done, you find a machine which you can scan a QR code on all the packaging products that can show you directly to the nearest point of return. You tap your bank card and you deposit your products, and you get your deposit directly transferred back into your account. So it's quite an easy, no hassle solution for the end consumer.
I've only worked here about 4 months. So for me, it's the only way it's ever been while I've been here. We also have glass cups as well, so they also have to be returned in a way. So for me, it doesn't feel any different now. Sometimes people ask for advice and then we just tell them about the machines. I think it's a great idea. Like when it came out a little over a year ago, I think a lot of me and my friends, we were surprised that no one had thought of it before, because it just seemed like something pretty obvious to do. If I go to a cafe and I have something to go, it would be like the most straightforward option for me. It's not an imposition having a plastic cup that you can put in the machine versus just throwing out a cardboard cup.
I think it's been a big success, both in terms of the kind of exposure this has given to the reusable agenda. I think that's a very big positive. In total terms, we're approaching 1.5 million cups that have been put into the system and returned. And with an overall 86% return rate, I think you cannot really say other than this has been a great success in the beginning stages of this project. We have a very good collaborative partner in Sommer, and their local operation, they drive to the return vending machines to collect the used packaging, drive it to the sanitization hub, where it's been reconditioned and checked for, scratches or cracks or whatever, and then put into the system again. Right now, we've seen cups being reused around 40 times, and they're still as good as new.
Our very highest KPI in this project is the return rate. And we're doing a return rate in average of 87. It's a very huge success, and the whole project is about showing the technology is here, we can do it, it's running, the end consumers are very happy. We actually only need some regulations because sustainability cannot go at the price of single use that you just throw away in the nature. This is not rocket science. Of course, we have invested in a big tunnel washer for washing 5,000 cups an hour. But it's more or less like the dishwasher at the restaurant. The job is industrialized here. This is quite easy to scale up, and in Denmark we're looking into a national solution. The government had set a plan for 3 years, and I believe in 2 years we could probably have it in the 4 biggest cities in Denmark and several small cities, and just have a national solution in Denmark. The barriers and the challenge is that sustainable doesn't come for free. So these reusable cups, it's more costly to wash them than just throw them in the waste bins. If we get regulation, either a ban or some taxes on the single use, then I'm pretty sure that all shops will be in on this.
The initiative in Aarhus, I think it's great. It's good that you can establish more return systems for whatever kind of products, because if it can benefit the climate and environment, then go for it.
The benefits of this project is most clear when we have big events. It's amazing to see the transformation from when we use single use on large-scale events until today. One result is as well that our neighboring municipalities are not calling us anymore with single-use waste on their beaches, and that's also a great result for us.
Everybody would like a better climate, better sustainability. No one likes to see the sea with single-use trash and waste in. So I think we will go there together.
In the groups that I move in and with my friends, for all of us, we were very much in agreement that why not do it this way when it's gonna help in like a bigger picture way. Yeah, it's such a straightforward thing to do that's gonna help overall, and I think, yeah, why not just make the switch?
We have partly built this with experience from our existing DRS on bottles and cans in Denmark. And what we see is when you have a mandate, a political legislative push for doing something different, then things happen. We have probably the best DRS system in the world, both in return rates and in coverage. So I would love to copy that and to see politicians really engaging in this and taking the move towards making reuse the norm rather than the exception.
There we go. So hopefully you all feel as inspired as we do about what's happening in Denmark's world of circular economy for drinks packaging. And I'm delighted to now introduce our panel, so you'll have the opportunity to ask any questions you might have. We'll be joined by Catherine, who you just met, who is on our panel. We have Sarah Horner joining us from Reloop. She's Reloop UK and Ireland Director. We have Simon Rossau, the project manager from Aarhus's reusable coffee cup system, who you saw in the film. And we hope we're going to have Stine Ullman Poulsen, who is from Dank's return system. Here's Tom from Wildlife and Countryside. Link is asking, is it a mandated system in Aarhus or just voluntary? And I feel like that's a good question for you, Simon, to start us off.
Yes. All right. Hi, everyone. Hi, Tom. No, it's not. It's voluntary, 100% voluntary. We do have, we wanted to start this with the slow entry areas for both consumers and then especially for the businesses in our city. So we didn't have any like strict guidance or contractual obligations to be a part of, or to shift X amount or 100%, which have turned out to be okay. But that is something going further. As a city, when I talk with different cities, I would say if I could do something differently, I would probably have made it a little bit more obligative. Well, I don't know if that's a word, but I think you understand the meaning of it. Because we do struggle with some, especially without mentioning anybody, with larger change who participate in the program, but they don't really engage in it. But we do see a shift where more and more of our partners and cafes and restaurants in the city actually shift to only serving in reusable. Again, we're not pushing anything, but they see the benefits. But it has taken a couple of years to get to that point. So I think that's also important, thing in this, that you need time to mature the idea, both behavior-wise. So yeah, but no, everything is voluntary, 100%.
Thank you, Simon. And I'm pleased to say that we do now have Stine on the call too. Stine, would you be happy to switch your video on?
Yes,
and then...
I'm on.
Oh, great.
I'm so sorry, too late. Very sorry.
No worries. Thank you so much for joining us. And
No
you've
problem.
of course seen the film, and
Yes.
I'm sure any questions that come your way you'll be primed to answer.
Yes,
So
of course.
we have a question here in the chat from Clarissa, who says she's seen the impressive coffee cup system and is interested to know in the new salad bowl system and how that's working, which you saw a brief clip of, which I know is just at the university in Aarhus at the moment, isn't it, Simon?
Yeah. So yeah, I think we've had around 10 or 15,000 trips of salad bowls, or what you would call them, so far. But we're looking to expand that. But you especially, you know that it comes with complexities. There's always the cups were one thing, and you could see it as a kind of a low-hanging fruit, which I think is, it's not a low. It's been difficult, and also for our project partner Tom. There's a lot of developing going into these kind of things. When you start with food packaging, it's a pilot within a pilot, because there's different things. There's like aerosols. It doesn't have anything in the machines here. There's how clean are they? Rodents. How do we wash them? How to ensure that no scratches are left behind? So there's a lot of different things. But we're just starting with a new type of bowl that we have kind of tested again. And the hope is, of course, that we will do this for all types of packaging, because it's or not all types of packaging. I see Stine is here because we have a very good Danish return system. We have a very good legislation supporting that. So everything that's within that system we will never touch, because that's operated perfectly as it is. But everything outside, you could theoretically think into a reuse system, or at least a deposit system. So that's the end game. That's the goal. That single use is out, and reuse is the new norm.
Great, thank you, Simon. I see we have a question from Duncan Midwood in the chat. Duncan, would you like to ask your question and let me know who it's directed to? I'm not sure, are you able to unmute, or do you need me to do that? Here we go. Well, I'll ask it on your behalf. I'm not sure if you're able to. You've said you're achieving 89% collection. Well done. What is the target when rolled out? So I assume you're asking about the coffee cup system, because obviously the deposit return system is rolled out already. So Simon, that's another question for you, I think.
Yeah, I think that could also be a question for Stine. Like they're getting even higher return rates. When we started this, we had a dream, let's say like that, to have 82% return rate, because all available LCAs on this specific program that we run shows that you need an 82% return rate to ensure that climate and environmental wise LCA, you're in a better position than with single use. So that's kind of that was the agenda, that was the goal. But already now, from this video was filmed a couple of months ago until today, we're seeing a 2% increase. We're now at 89%, 87 when this video was filmed. We had an event in the city where we had 94% overall return rate, 150,000 cups over a week, which is amazing. And then we're actually on par with Dansk Retursystem, with Danish return system on this reuse. The good last thing, the good thing or the cool thing about that is we're kind of localized. So people travel out of Aarhus. There's no infrastructure to hand in your packaging. So I think that's an amazingly high number. And to already now say that we're very close to 90% return rate overall.
Yeah, thank you. I know it's very exciting to see this happening on a citywide scale and with such high return rates. So yeah, we've got a couple of questions here. There's one from Tom again at Wildlife and Countryside Link, and Stine, I was going to direct this to you. He's asking, is the main barrier to national scale reuse for coffee cups, for example, is the main barrier cost? And I guess I was going to tie into that. If we were to have a reusable cup system on a national level, is there a way that could be kind of combined with the infrastructure that you already have established for the bottles and cans?
Yeah. Yes, hi. Thank you. In terms of the current and existing deposit system in Denmark, we are regulated, meaning that we have this monopoly to collect and sort single-use beverage packaging in Denmark. So in that term, you are obliged to do so, and it's actually a political decision whether the Danish deposit system should contain other beverage packaging, including glass, for instance, wine. It usually marketed in glass bottles. We could handle that in the current system. However, we are actually not allowed to do that because it's a political decision whether we should do that. We have this, we are a monopoly. So that's why it's very strict regulation saying what we can do, what we cannot do. So if the politician says yes, wine would be great to have into the Danish deposit system, then we will do it because then we have the same opinion as the politicians. So yes, if that is a sufficient answer, if it answered the question, Tom.
I mean, I think that was a great answer, and maybe Tom, you can pop in the chat if you have a follow-up to that. But I guess we could ask the same question to you, Simon. Do you think that the main barrier to national scale reuse for coffee cups in particular is the cost of the system?
No, the main barrier towards everything in this world is political will. That's where we're at. It doesn't matter what the cost is. If you want to take another turn, go in this direction, we can do it. We've seen many things. We've just seen it, which I'm not opposing, but we are funding now. It's a war machine all of a sudden. We're putting so much money into building up an arsenal, and that for good reasons. And we can do the same in every direction. So for me to say what is the main barrier, yes, the main barrier is cost. If you don't have political will, if you do have political will, it doesn't really matter, because what Stine just said, they're mandated. It's just a decision. That's how it is. and now we make it work. And they have made it work also financially, but it took some years, to get it to a point where it can also be sustainable, self-sustainable. So it's kind of the hen or the egg situation, but without any regulations, yes, the cost of implementing and driving a washing facility and the logistics are a hinder to scale. So yeah, it's a both and kind of question or answer.
Thank you. And Tom says thank you, that's helpful. So that's great. Yep. And I think the campaigners amongst us hear loud and clear what you're saying, Simon. So we have a question from Matt Dawson. Oh, sorry, Sarah, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, no, just a quick question on the back of that, Simon, because I've just come from a meeting with the Scottish Cabinet Secretary, and we were talking about reusable cups, and because they've just been running a consultation, and she was sharing sort of the response has been published, but she was sharing that some smaller micro businesses had raised concern about costs. But I remember when we were talking to you that if you could comment on this, that you were saying that some of the businesses were realizing that the cost of buying single-use coffee cups was also expensive, and there were benefits to switching to the reuse system. If you just could comment on that, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Well, comment on that. Well, yeah, as I said before, we've seen a shift. More and more cafes and partnering restaurants are shifting to reusable. And when I say more and more, I think we're talking like 11 or 12 businesses who have shifted completely. So they see the benefits from it. But the difference here is that single use is in a million different shapes and forms and price points. And if you're a large multinational, you can buy from the headquarters for no money. If you're a small moms and pop store on the corner, it's very expensive. If you buy a very sustainable single-use packaging, it's more expensive. So it's different for everyone, but the reuse is the same price. If you purchase one or if you purchase 100,000, it's the logistics, it's the washing, it's the sanitation and sorting. That's the same cost per cup. So yeah, to answer your question, some cafes see the benefits outweigh if they pay a little bit more for the reusable, especially in events, because there you can, definitely say if you have a concert. Before we have like quotes on this and data on it, that they were cleaning up for 2 hours after an event. When you have only reusables at an event, they use 0 minutes. They don't have any cleaning to do, because when you have to clean up, you take your cup, you go to the machine, you get your deposit back. That's just what you do. And then you also bring your other waste, because if you're throwing one piece of waste, you can just throw everything. But now you're kind of you have to go to the machines and bring your other waste. And there they see the strong benefits of shifting to reuse, for sure.
Thank you. Okay, we've got quite a lot of questions here. I see Mark Perryman, you've put your hand up. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, certainly. Hi. So it's Mark Perryman here from Mastercard. Hello, Simon. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Mark. Nice to hear you.
Yeah, I was just really making an observation, because there's lots of questions about costs, which is sort of obvious why they come up, and people like Simon have answered those questions very honestly. But I'd just like to point out, I mean, one of the beauties of Aarhus is it's across the city, citywide. So the collection points are across the city, and therefore the washing tends to be in a central facility. The individual coffee shops are not washing up their cups. That's the model, and that's a very good model. But there are other examples where, say, visitor attractions, and we are working with a couple here in the UK, Blenheim Palace and the Eden Project down in Cornwall. Now, these are obviously closed environments, and you have to have a ticket to go in. And therefore, the cups tend to stay, in the environment. Of course, people can walk off with them, but generally they do not. And these visitor attractions, because they already have washing facilities to wash, china plates, china bowls, china cups and things like that, then all they simply do is they put their reusable cups through their existing washing infrastructure. So the additional cost is minimal. So I just wanted to sort of give a different perspective that I'm not saying it's for free. Of course it's not, but there are ways of actually just saving money in one place, and you're not necessarily generating lots of costs in others. So just to finish this point, I mean, both Blenheim and Eden have got on record, and they've allowed us very graciously to publish this information in different places, but both of them are claiming to save about £50,000 a year, because they're saving money obviously on the single-use packaging. They're no longer purchasing it, but also they're saving money in terms of waste management, because they were literally having outside contractors coming in every week hauling away the garbage, which they no longer have to do. So that's a cost saving. So that definitely, I suppose this cost argument comes back to, it depends on the model you're running, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to spend more on sustainability. Both Blenheim and Eden are actually saving money. So just wanted to put that there.
Thank you, Mark. That's really helpful. And if you're able to share any of that in writing, delighted for you to. Thank you. Yes, that would be super helpful. Thanks so much. Really interesting contribution. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I see I've got a question in the Q&A section. This is from Matt Dawson at Seahorse. Says, what would your key piece of advice be for the UK right now? And Catherine's obviously set the scene for us, and as we know, we're on track to start a deposit return system for bottles and cans, PET and metal cans in October 27, so in about 2 years from now. So we could maybe hear from each of the panelists. What would be your advice for the UK right now when we're at this stage? Shall I come to you first, Catherine? I feel like yours is going to be advice / hopes and dreams.
Definitely. You won't be surprised to hear we're already thinking what's next. This has been a very long journey, and it's fantastic that we're making this step. And it's kind of what Simon was talking about earlier on. Other materials, other products. We know deposit return systems work. We know reuse works. What else can we be building into it? But I think advice for the right now is kind of continuing to do what is being done. It's events like this, it's the deposit management organisation having consumer forums, so everyone can be helping with the design and feeding in information. So I think the advice is just to keep listening, keep learning, so we can make it the best it can be.
Great, thank you. What about you, Steen, from your seasoned deposit return experience?
From the Danish deposit systems perspective, because we are lucky to have a long tradition in Denmark, returning your bottles and cans in the revert vending machines. We have been existed for more than 20 years, but actually we have a tradition 100 years back, returning your glass bottles. So we are getting used to it, but still we have to make sure that the consumers, they return, because we depend on the consumers. That's the most important stakeholder for us. Not the most important, but some of the most important stakeholders for us. Through the last, I think, 10 years, we have this bulk returning, we call pan stations. We both have in the retail shop, and you can return your bottles. We have also established these pan stations where you return by a sack, where you can take both glass, you can take the PET bottles and your cans in one sack and empty down to this pan station and actually get your deposit back on your account within hours. So it's very important to have several returning points in our perspective, as well as they have in Aarhus, and have them, regular close. Now you have focused on the inner town of the city of Aarhus. It makes really good sense, because it is the convenience for the consumers to return, even though it's single-use bottles or if it's reuse cups. So it's crucial for us. So in Denmark, that's actually the reason we have a return rate at 93% today, or as we had last year in 2024. So I think that's the main, most important perspective, the consumers and the convenience, make it easy for them to return the empty bottles and cans.
Thank you. Also, yeah, absolutely agree with you on that one. That's super helpful. Sarah, we'll come quickly to you to see what your advice would be for the UK. Although noting, thank you, Tom, for popping in there, that Wales they have ambition to have a slightly different system to Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland, and have just closed the consultation on their goal of including reusable glass in their system. And so the findings of that are TBC. I'll pass to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Jenny. I think in terms of DRS, I mean, it's sort of building what Stina said, is that, you know, the countries, when we went to Denmark and Latvia, there's obviously a huge tradition already established amongst consumers and also amongst industry. And we're starting from scratch. So I think it's really important to get the basics in place, to get that scheme working for plastic and for metal before we think about any ambition. Because my concern is it's a huge change. It's a huge change for consumers, for industry, for local authorities. And we really need to get those basics in place before we go any further with the ambition, because it's a bigger change, and I think than a lot of people outside of maybe our world. You know, for consumers, it's a big change. And then very quickly with coffee cups, and for me, that feels like an easier win than reusable glass containers. I think the proof of concept is there in a way that we can lift it much more from Aarhus, and it's sort of feeding into Mark's point about there's facilities in some areas already existing. There's people already doing this. It's happening all in all 4 nations, and we should try and draw that together a bit more. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Simon, I'm going to come to you, but I'm going to roll it into a question from Clarissa as well, who's asking that she's heard that Copenhagen may be introducing a similar system as you have in Aarhus, and is looking for an update on that. So I suppose if you have a quick bit of advice for what the UK should do next, and then that could lead into what's happening next in Denmark.
Yeah, I think then I can be the ambitious one because there was, you know, talk to, but I think you shouldn't kind of, you should be ambitious here, because now you're actually on the verge of something new where there is a consumer behavior shift that needs to happen. And it's not much more difficult to also do it with coffee cups when you have to do it with other types of packaging in the same. I would say it's probably, you know, it's good to have the behavior already there, but do it all at once. You know, don't lock yourself into not being able to introduce new packaging items into the system, because what you can secure right now is scale. We talked about cost and policy and so forth before. What are the kind of barriers? You know, the biggest barrier when it's not politically driven, like massively political driven, that's scale. Because if you get a high, you know, a good amount of numbers of cups or packaging items in, the per unit cost goes down. So I would just say, be ambitious, don't lock yourself into a string of thought. In 5 years, in, you know, technology and industry have done you know, big steps towards another direction that we have to. So yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, Clarissa, to Clarissa's questions about Copenhagen, they already introduced a system 2 months ago, 1 month ago, something like that. So it's up and running. It's a different system than what we have in Aarhus, or at least a different system provider. They have chosen a Danish startup called Reloop. It's kind of the same. It's you know, it's two parts of the same story where we work closely together to kind of facilitate testing and what can we do to kind of turn the levers for reuse. So they have a system, we have a system. It's different barriers, it's different possibilities within those systems. So yeah, that's happening. And I can say just a quick one that in Denmark we also have a national partnership that have been you know, financed by the Financial Act in Denmark with a significant amount of money. Yep, not an insignificant amount of money, but not enough to make a national system, but to look into how we can make a national system. So there's a lot of things going on, you know, to help support the transition towards reuse. Long answer. I talk a lot, you know that. For those of you
We
who
appreciate it.
All right.
But well, so I was going to ask, is the one in Copenhagen like a trial, or is that just getting
No,
started? And
it's also a pilot, so to
Okay.
speak. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, it'll be interesting to see results coming in from that too, because Copenhagen's obviously much bigger than Aarhus. Okay,
Well, not better,
so
not better.
no, I didn't say better, definitely not better. Okay, so I'll see. Hopefully, we'll have time for all of these questions. We have a few more, and we've got about 10 minutes left to go. So this is for you, Stine. In the UK, there's been strong opposition to including glass bottles in the deposit return system, and as discussed at the moment, there will be no glass bottles in the systems for Scotland, England, and Northern Ireland. So Tom is wondering, does glass actually create any issues in the system, or is it purely industry propaganda, he says?
No, it's not an issue in the Danish deposit system. We have, as I said before, a return rate in average in 93%. Actually, today, 98% of the collected glass bottles are recycled, and 99% of the collected and recycled glass will get into a new glass bottle. So this closed loop. So that is, we're very ambitious in Denmark of having this closed loop, can to can, bottle to bottle principles. So it's not an issue. We can handle that. And is it recycled in Denmark? So it's not an issue, as we, of course, it's more heavy. Yeah, it's more hard to handle. We will use our cars to collect, and of course it's heavy and it's hard to handle. So, but it's not an issue to recycle.
There's always a solution. Yeah. I mean, I remember years ago in Scotland, there were some concerns that it would be a health and safety risk for retailers who were having to handle it, but it didn't seem to make sense because they're obviously handling those containers when they're full of liquid to sell them. But have you had any concerns from retailers that there's a health and safety risk from having to take back empty glass bottles?
No, we haven't experienced that. Exactly, say the biggest issues in the retail shop is the space for that packaging, because this has always been an issue for the retail shops, because they have to sort into glass packaging and to the PET and cans. PET and cans is in the same sack, so to speak. So we will collect all the cans and the bottles unsorted. We will sort PET and cans at our plants. 2 places in Denmark, in East, in the Jutland, and near Copenhagen. So it's not an issue for us, and not an issue to handle the glass bottles in the retail shop as well. They have done this for years now, and I think the experience we have, we also try to seek for the best solutions for the retail shop, and we are in very close collaboration with the retail shop on this issue, if there should be any. So it has been working for more than 20 years now.
Thank you. That's very reassuring to hear. And certainly from visiting other deposit return systems, it definitely seems that once the system operator is up and running and established, then they're able to troubleshoot any little things that come up with the stakeholders within the system. And that's what you're there for, right?
Jenny, I can add to that. In Denmark, the retail shops get a compensation for handling these bottles as well. Which is financed by the fees paid by the producers, register their beverage packaging to the deposit system in Denmark. Yeah. So there's also an incentive here for the retail shop to handle all the bottles and cans. So that's also part of,
thank you.
How we manage this.
That will be the same here. That's definitely in the regulations, that there will be a handling fee for retailers. So it makes sense. Thank you. Okay, so 2 more questions for you, Simon, but the second one I'm also going to bring to you, Catherine, for a quick response. So We've got Paula is asking Simon whether there's much work being done in schools to educate young people about these systems that are taking place. And then the second question is asking, did you base your choice of reusable cups and salad bowls on its percentage in litter and or waste in the public bins? And that's the part that I'm going to ask you, Catherine, whether MCS are finding lots of takeaway packaging of food and also coffee cups on the beaches that you're surveying. So yeah, to you, Simon, are you working in schools with young people, and did you find lots of cups and salad bowls in the bins?
Okay, yeah, two answers to that. I would say I am so lucky that Stina have already done that. They educated the full population on how deposit works and why we need to do it. So it's not that difficult. It's not that needed. And then we're very monetary driven. We're all bargaining. We're all so if there's 5 crowns, we want that. So I think the behavior was there and is there in Denmark. So the straight answer to that is no. We're working with schools when they reach out. If there's a project we can, collaborate on and so forth. We do that a lot, but we don't do any outreach from our position into schools. Second question was?
Did you base your choice of reusable cups and
Yes.
salad bowls on the percentage in
Yeah.
litter bins?
Yeah. The waste audit showed that around 50% of all waste generated in takeaway and school packaging. So that was kind of the starting point. But if we look at like elements like a single-use coffee cups, I might be remembering this wrong, but I think it's around 9% of all waste generated. And we had a political legislative push to have waste sorting in public spaces in Denmark to sort out plastic waste, and that's like 6.8% of the full. So just coffee cups takes out more waste from our public bins than waste sorting in the way that it's mandated in Denmark can ever do. So yeah. Of course, we look to what kind of items are both easiest to handle and most seen. And then also just to add on that, all surveys that we've done with our citizens, like quantitative studies show that the cardboard cup is like, people hate it. They hate it. It's everywhere. That's what lies in our streets and as litter and so forth, mostly. So yeah, I think that was
Thank you. That's helpful. Catherine, would you like to comment on what MCS are finding on the beaches here?
Yeah, just quickly. I mean, I think everybody who's been to the beach knows exactly the kind of things that they see, especially our busier beaches. And yeah, food and takeaway packaging is still right up there, and it's continuing to actually increase as a problem. So we actually saw a nearly 10% increase in single-use plastic packaging on beaches from our Beach Watch data this year. So it just shows that it's still a building problem. So anything we can do to combat it would be so good. And I think it's something we've not raised yet. Something that I loved seeing when we got to visit Denmark as well was the options to donate deposits as well. So we can see, a really good opportunity for charities and community groups and schools across the UK. If they're doing it, can they be nominated as charities so we can help fund that cleanup operation that's being done mostly by volunteers, community and schools as well. And then just on the engaging with young people, I also love the fact that schools could go and visit the stations and go and visit the sorting centres as well to start building that into the curriculum, which I think will work really well back here too.
Yes, and actually we had a photographer with us, and we took some photos of the educational kind of layout that you have there at your headquarters, Stina. So we would be happy to send them over if people want to email, and we can send pictures of the different educational activities that are set up for kids there so they can learn about these systems too. Okay, so we only have 2 minutes left. I see Brenda has asked a couple of questions, so I'll try. Yours, Brenda, are about entrepreneurs, and I think we've talked a bit about retailers and how they may have some reservations about participating and how those challenges can be overcome. And then your other question is about what do entrepreneurs think of the cups without their logo? So I assume you're talking about small businesses like cafes or maybe even businesses like the bigger brand coffee names that we know. So maybe Simon, you could give us a 1-minute answer on what these people think about having to use cups without their logo on it.
In 1 minute. I can easily do that. That is a barrier, you know. But we are actually launching the first branded collaboration here on the 5th of December in Aarhus. So this is something that we have worked a lot towards. How can we do that? What are kind of finances? This is Thomas' side of things, but you know, how can you do it? And to be specific, you know, even a very small shop could theoretically have branded cups within the system. It's just a matter of you pay more if you only have few cups with your own brand. If you have a large quantity, you'll get lower cost because it will be easier to sort. So there's kind of this step ladder kind of function in it, and that's the best way we have been able to kind of figure out how to do the branded cups. But with branded cups or bowls or whatever item you put in it, complexity rises. That's just the key takeaway here. So this is again a pilot within a pilot, and that's why we're so happy to have this pilot in the first place in August, that we can actually work on all of these different subjects, so other people on other cities don't have to do it. They can just call us, be like, hey, what should we do? That's what we're talking about now. So yeah.
Thank you. Yes, and absolutely. I think it's so valuable to be able to learn from the experience of people who are leading the way and going ahead of others. And yes, really appreciate the time of all of our panelists today and all of your insights. Thank you very much for joining us today. And that is our time up. So we're going to wrap up, but just to quickly add, immediately after this webinar, we're going to be live sharing our video that we made about the Latvian deposit return system, because we also went on from Denmark to see the system in Latvia, which includes deposit return for both single-use and reusable bottles and cans. And we also made a film that's looking more at the UK and the policy setup here. So they're going to be available on the Marine Conservation website, Marine Conservation Society website, and the Reloop website, and probably also will be going out on our social media channels as well. So thank you everybody so much for joining us, and we will look forward to seeing you again at some other webinar in the future. All right. Bye everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.